Talk about this Dallas Stars team right now. Obviously, head coaching change, Rick Bowness, but this is a team that has a lot of talent, made a run last year in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Is this a championship caliber team? Do you think this is a team that should have those aspirations?
I think it absolutely is. And I think there's a lot of teams in the Western Conference that are concerned about the Dallas Stars. I think they have top-end talent, which has kind of settled into playing a team-first type game. So I do believe that their numbers are a little bit down. Jamie Benn being one of those guys, Tyler Seguin the other, which happens, which is kind of that balance between committing to doing all the little things right that help your team win and sacrificing your own personal statistics. I think that is part of the reason why we're seeing that. But I think they have size. I think they have grit. And I think they have speed. And it's not just at the forward position. I love their blue line. I think Jim Null's done a great job in revamping the blue line there in Dallas. Klingberg's an outstanding offensively gifted defenseman. And then Miro Heiskanen is a star of the future.
Yeah.
And it's all about how well he skates the puck out of trouble and makes plays through the neutral zone that forces the opposition to kind of think their game plan to try to slow down the Stars' blue line. So there's a lot in Dallas to like, and I think there's going to be a lot of prediction that the Dallas Stars will come out of the Western Conference, and I do believe that other teams in the West, when the trade deadline comes around, are going to be keeping the Dallas Stars in mind when they try to add pieces to their team. I think, in my eyes, that's how important that team is in the Western Conference right now.
Well, we just finished talking about St. Louis and the Kachucks and hockey in St. Louis. Well, Ben Bishop, St. Louis guy.
Yeah.
And he just fresh off of seeing the St. Louis Blues win a Stanley Cup. They beat them last year in the playoffs. So I'm sure the big fellow's motivated, as no one really talked about Ben Bishop.
Didn't get to go to St. Louis for the All-Star either.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
So he's on the outside watching all this, everyone talking about St. Louis, and he wasn't even there. So I'm sure he's using that as motivation too, as thinking to himself, listen, I'm one of the best goalies in the National Hockey League. He's like Rodney Dangerfield, never gets any respect. I mean, he's got to stay healthy, but when he does, he's the best puck-moving big man in terms of goaltender in the National Hockey League, I think, right now. So he's the backbone. For all the reasons you mentioned, Jonesy, with the Dallas Stars, you add him to the mix, and if he's on his game, I mean, he took the Tampa Bay Lightning to the Cup Finals a few years ago, so he's certainly capable of doing that. Now can he stay healthy during the Stanley Cup run? That remains to be seen.
And what lessons did they learn from the Blues last year in that 7-game double overtime series? I think they taught the Blues some lessons in that series as well. One thing they can take out of it is they were able to grind with St. Louis. And where the Blues wore down a lot of opponents, the Dallas Stars were right there with them. And I think that's going to bode well for them when the playoffs roll around. I think that there's that style of play that they can beat you with their size and strength and grind, or also with their speed, that make them a team that's kind of got multi-facets that can battle against whatever team they're going up against.
And there were certainly some questions, when you go back to that St. Louis Blues and the style, but there were questions about Craig Berube, whether he could be the head coach that leads your team to a Stanley Cup final and a championship. Answers those questions. Now Rick Bowness is in. Those questions are going to be there for him. Should he be? Is there a pressure that he's under? Do you believe right now, where if they have a couple bad weeks, if they string a few losses together, that he's going to be feeling some heat?
I think there's a lot of pressure on him. I think if he dropped 4 games in a row, 5 games in a row, and all of a sudden the Dallas Stars were a bubble team, I think that there would be a tremendous amount of pressure, and there would be a lot of observation going on from Jim Nill's perspective on seeing this great hockey guy that's been an assistant coach forever and has had head coaching experience, but it's a long time ago. Is he the guy to get us over the top this year? And if he doubts it, if he has any inkling that it's not the right coach, he'll bump him back to being an assistant and bring in a head coach. The issue being there's a lot of really good head coaches that are available right now.
I think the pressure also stems to the fact that he wasn't Jim Nill's first choice. Remember, Jim Montgomery was his guy.
Yep.
And unfortunately, he was let go prematurely. So it wasn't like Jim Nill brought Rick Bowness in. He brought him in because he had to. He had no other choice at the time. And at the time when he was hired, all these excellent coaches that are out there now weren't available. So I think they're a Cup final contender for sure, 100%. Now, can Rick Bowness get them over the hump? He certainly has tons of experience. There's nothing in the game of hockey that he hasn't seen before. He's been in the Cup finals as an assistant coach. But can he push the right buttons for this team and see if they get them over the edge? That remains to be seen. And it's so tight right now. Like losing 4 or 5 games in January, February isn't the same as losing 4 or 5 games in October, November, because you have far fewer games to play to make up those points.
Yeah, and I think the great news for Rick Bowness is he's been on some teams that have made long runs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So he's been in every meeting and witnessed anything that happened in Tampa with John Cooper over the years when they ended up going to the Stanley Cup final before losing to the Blackhawks. So he's been there and done that. I believe that he is very capable of getting the job done, but I do think there's pause for concern if you're Jim Nill and this team starts to slide a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do believe he's under the watchful eye right now of a general manager that knows he's got a team that's good enough to win the Stanley Cup, but wants to make sure that he doesn't leave any stones unturned, and that would be one of them.
Well, especially when you mentioned that there are coaching candidates out there right now. There are guys that you think potentially you could bring in who could be legitimate championship caliber head coaches. We're going to make big predictions. I'm going to still throw mine out there, and mine is that Gerard Gallant will be a head coach again this season. That would make him the third head coach to be fired, then rehired this season, which would be an NHL record.
I would take that one step further. Where do you think you'll get
I'm not going to say Dallas, though. I'm not going to say Dallas. I'm not making that bold of a prediction.